Howdy. Today we're going to be talking about Caliban and his rework. I meant to do a video on this earlier because it has been a while since his rework came out at this point, but I just couldn't really find something that interested me. Everybody and their grandma has a Caliban Nourish build because Nourish is exactly what is the best on him in most cases, right? Like Nourish just fits him so well. It's not just a basic energy increase plus vital to your weapons. It just in general works extremely well with his kits, which isn't a bad thing. That's totally fine. It's just, if there's something already like that, then why would I make a video when there's already 1,000 other like that? So I didn't really think it was worth doing at the time until I found something at least somewhat interesting, and I kind of did. It's still not like special necessarily, but it was enough, I guess. Now we are going to briefly cover the changes. Briefly, I say that it's going to take 12,000 years because that's usually how things go. I yap a lot. But we're going to go over the changes that happened to him because he did get some changes. I'm not going to get extremely technical because this is a pretty low IQ kind of setup here, right? So I'm not going to like go and bring up all the exact changes. But I can't remember if anything they did. I don't think they did anything to his passive, but his one got replaced pretty much entirely. I think this is the same name, but it's just a different ability. It's pretty interesting. You dash forward, spinning around, applying Tau status effect, which is a new status effect on the enemies, and you will heal yourself for both health and shields. It also refunds energy for every enemy hit when you spin out. It's pretty nice, I'd say. It's good for keeping yourself alive. It's good for movement. It's cheap. You can actually regen energy this way. If you hit more enemies than how much it costs, I think you can get back more energy than how much it costs. Like if I go and do that, and then I hit all these guys, look, you can generate energy for yourself. So it is good for energy sustain and applying the Tau status. And if you don't know what the Tau status effect does, it's a new status effect that is exclusively applied through Caliban's abilities. I don't think there's anything else in the game that can do it. And a Tau status effect increases the chance for an extra status effect when you apply a status onto an enemy, right? Kind of, sort of, or increases the base status chance. It's kind of weird, complicated. I think I tested it earlier, but I don't remember the exact specifics. It honestly, at the end of the day, doesn't really matter the details about it in most cases. Just know more statuses by having this status. Overall, it's still not the best ability in the world, as in you're going to want to helmet over this if you do helmet something on, but it is a really good ability. Like, I would give this an A+ in ability tiers because it's pretty good. It's good for shield gating. You don't even have to have something to give you your shields back, like brief respite, because it just gives shields when you hit an enemy. It's good for health. It's good for energy, but it's also kind of unnecessary a lot of the time. His second ability was changed by making it so that first of all, I think the damage vulnerability applied to enemies was increased. It also no longer like sends enemies flying. It floats them up into the air, makes headshots super easy. It also applies a guaranteed Tau status effect onto the enemies. Overall, just very, very nice. It also doesn't have a cap on how many waves are sent out. It's just a big radius around him now, so that's pretty cool. Not really too much to this ability. It's just kind of slam your foot and it's going to crowd control enemies and give them a damage vulnerability. Very, very strong because it comes out so fast, and damage vulnerability isn't a like super easily acquired kind of debuff on enemies in the game, so it's going to be a very easy way of increasing both your own damage and your teammates' damage, since it's a debuff applied to the enemy rather than buff applied to yourself. So I would not get rid of this in almost any scenario because it's just so easy to use and so useful. Then his third ability is the one that got changed the most. Now you can switch between 3 different types of sentients. There's conculists, which are these guys, and they run around and melee stuff. They have okay damage, they whack stuff, and if you do your fourth, they also shoot out lasers. So there's a bunch of laser beams. Overall, they're decent, but also at the same time, not the best in my opinion. They can do a decent amount of damage. If you buff them, you can build into them and make them kill stuff, but I don't think they're the best option. Then the next one is Ortholists, and these guys shoot, and they have a very high status chance for applying Tau, so they can apply lots of the Tau status, meaning you get lots of status effects in general. They can shoot, and they can go into an artillery mode like this and shoot stuff, which is a different kind of shooting than their normal one. Very weird looking, I guess, but also really cool. It's very, very nice for applying just Tau on everything for amazing amounts of status effects everywhere. And you can see they actually do a pretty reasonable amount of damage themselves, so you can make these guys do damage, and they're ranged. Then finally we have the Simulists, which it spawns this weird cathedral looking ass dude, and this guy spawns 6 smaller dudes, each of which heal your shields and heal your teammates' shields. They just kind of float around. They have the highest aggro value, so there's that. They will aggro a lot, and if they die, they just get summoned again by the big dude. Though I don't really think they're worth using a lot of the time, because they don't really do a lot otherwise. They do some amount of damage, and they can apply the Tau status, yes. But all of the guys give you shields. Yes, these guys give you more, but shield gating is infinitely more effective than shield tanking in this game, so I would rather have a more effective shield gating than shield tanking. But if both of them are fast shield regen, at the end of the day, they're practically the same shield gating effect, or at least if you build around it with like brief respite just to get the shields started regenning, because they will not regen over time unless you at least have 1 shields, but that's so easy to do with an augur mod or brief respite. That's why, in my opinion, the main ones worth using are the Ortholists. They're the most consistent, they apply the most Tau status, they have really good range and damage, they're just very, very nice, and they still give you shields while also still aggroing the enemy. Other than that, they also made it so it summons all 3 of the dudes at once when you summon them, so you don't have to worry about summoning multiple in a row, and you can summon them without waiting for the cooldown to refresh. I believe they also increased the base duration on this, so that's nice. I wish they would despawn, but I don't want to have to go back into the thing. Simulate. Now, the 4th ability. First of all, it goes out faster. Secondly, it does more damage. It does damage per second when it's hitting enemies. You can see pretty decent damage per second. It armor strips on the beam hits as well as the beam explosion. It does still leave a radius, though it's kind of hard to see the radius around. It's a little wonky how that works. It's, for the most part, the same ability, though. It's just more consistent now. Overall, just nicer. You can kind of get it to do damage, but it's basically just an armor strip. And that's the very brief, like, overview of the changes that happened to him. He is still the same frame overall. He's just a lot better than he used to be. And if you want, you can slap Nourish over his 1 and make him very, very snazzy for absolute power. Because what he brings to the table, even without a helmet ability, is damage vulnerability, which helps your entire team, and it's a unique source of damage increase, so that's nice. Big damage. Crowd control with this as well, so lots of crowd control, so you don't have to worry about normal enemies attacking you. Even more pseudo crowd control, quotation marks, by enemies aggroing to your sentients, as well as damage by them attacking dudes and, you know, murdering them because they can't actually do a decent amount of damage. Tau status is all over the place, so you and your teammates, again, because it's a debuff, get A, another status for more damage from CO, and B, even more statuses because that's what the Tau status effect does. You also get armor strip, extremely easy, convenient armor strip all over the place all of the time. And also free damage reduction with his passive. That's all not counting his first ability in case you decide to helmet that, and obviously not counting a helmet at all. That's just 3 of his abilities right there. He's got basically everything you need. Survivability, check. Armor strip, check. Crowd control, check. Damage, check. Support, check. Bro has everything but grouping. That's all you're missing here. So you could put a grouping ability on, like Ensnare over his 1. It's just the reason people run Nourish on Caliban is that Nourish applies to not just himself, but if you cast it after lethal progeny is already down, it will apply to these guys as well, which means they get a huge damage increase since you can't put mods, so it's not a diluted value, the elemental damage percent. They get a huge damage increase, and they get viral, so that they apply viral on everything. On top of that, because Tau status is on everything, you're applying more viral than you normally would. And that's with them shooting stuff. When they take damage, they also have an explosion. The 2-second cooldown explosion that spreads viral and staggers enemies, the cooldown for that is separate with yourself and each one of these guys. So every time you or any of them get hit, viral spread. When they attack, viral is spread. When they attack, more status is spread in general. When you hit enemies with your weapon, because it applies the viral bonus to yourself, viral spread. Just infinite viral, huge amounts of damage, staggering everywhere. It is really good, and then it also gives you an incredible energy economy, though honestly he doesn't have like horrible energy economy to begin with. It's just that that's kind of boring because that's what everybody runs on him. So instead, the build I'm going with, ignore the names, these are all not named correctly. The build I want to show is with Chirinka Pillar, and this isn't like extremely synergistic with him necessarily, but it is decently nice because we can apply radiation procs to the enemies, which is nice because we get more status for more damage with like CO or gun CO. It also means we can have more statuses from rad procs because of the Tau statuses in synergy with this, which means the enemies do more damage to each other. So that's nice. Because enemies are armor stripped, that means they can actually take damage from each other, so it's not going to be worthless rad procs, because a lot of the time if you have rad procs on enemies, they can't really do damage to each other because each other have armor and stuff. I'm sure you get the idea. It also does a not horribly worthless amount of damage, which is then increased by Sentient Wrath. And now you might be thinking, well, the rad procs are worthless if they're lifted because of Sentient Wrath, but a lot of the time you're not going to like just spam this every 5 seconds, because I mean enemies die really fast, so unless you're casting this constantly, enemies are always going to be held up. So to have the rad procs spreading all around all of the time from these just passively, it's pretty nice to have. Also, they just look cool and they sound cool, so I like this ability if you don't get clapped. Other than the helmet, we have growing power for extra strength, which is decent. It's not really needed. You can run whatever you want here. Brief respite isn't really needed though, because we have augur reach. Augur reach is so that we get, mostly it's so that we get the secondary effect, so we can get shields regen. Because if our shields break, we cast any ability, it will give us literally all we need is 1 shield, and then the shield regen from our lethal progeny will kick in and regen our shields at a crazy fast rate, making us very, very tanky via shield gating constantly. The extra range is also nice for both his 1, 2, and 4. I don't think it does anything on his 3, though I could be wrong. Yeah, no, it doesn't look like it does. I don't know what the range stat is on this though. Oh, shield regen range. Okay, yeah, that's decently nice. Prime flow for energy cap, of course. Prime continuity for duration. Umbral intensify for strength. Transient fortitude for more strength. Equilibrium for our energy economy. Stretch for more range. And Boreal's hatred for efficiency, which is nice. And more importantly, shield capacity, so we get a bigger shield gate. We are at 1073 shields for a 2.4 second shield gate. The cap is a 2.5 at 1150, but we're close enough. And then prime sure-footed, so we don't get knocked down. You can replace this. So growing power and prime sure-footed, both completely optional. Really, you don't need Boreal's hatred. If you wanted, it might even be better to go catalyzing shields. I guess it depends, but I do like having the bigger shield gate. So Boreal's hatred is what I run. Molt augmented, so we get extra strength that builds up an extra 60 at max, which puts us at 304. And Arcane Aegis just for even more survivability, because I find it nice. You don't need this. You can run something else if you decide. Then for our Archon shards, we're getting extra strength from them. We have 3 Tau Forged for red for an extra 45% ability strength, and 2 Tau Forged for casting speed, because he does really like casting speed. And that's the build for him, but I do have a loadout with some interesting stuff on it. Where is it? Here we go. Calibussy. That's what I'm talking about. And I really want to maximize the use of the Tau status effects here. That's what we want to do, because it means extra statuses. So what benefits from statuses? Well, you know what? Cerberus has forced blast procs, and I find that pretty funny. Forced blast procs plus the Tau status, I think it works together. Honestly, now that I think about it, I forgot to test it, but I'm fairly certain it works. It would be weird if it didn't. It just means more explosions, and more explosions is more funny and more damage, so why not? For a Sybaris build, it's pretty straightforward. Primary Frostbite, I like cold because it's consistent on this thing, and we don't really need anything else. We already have Armor Strip, we're already going to have Viral from our companion, so we can run cold because we can. We don't have a crit damage mod on here. No Vital Sense, but that's because we're already getting crit damage from cold status on enemies all the time. That's an extra 100% at max cold stacks, and Primary Frostbite also gives us 120% crit damage, so we don't really need Vital Sense here. Instead, we get more damage by putting Rifle Elementalist on. Galvanized Scopes just for more crit chance. You know, the rest of the build kind of says itself, right? And we get a big elemental bonus because prime cryo rounds and rhyme rounds. Then for our secondary, I have the Grimoire, because this is a very cool and entertaining weapon, and if you disagree, you're wrong. It's a very straightforward electric build that's centered around using the alt fire. Secondary Surge we can build up really fast. It doesn't take much effort to, and this affects the entire duration of the alt fire. So we build this up all the way and then alt fire and get huge damage. Other than that, it's just completely centered around the electric procs, because you do get forced electric procs on the alt fire. So multi-shot, electric status chance, even more electric, base damage, crit chance, crit damage, fire rate multi-shot, and then status damage. And the reload speed is nothing, but we want that status damage. And then this is just extra fire rate for the Exilus. For our melee, this is also, like everything else, entirely optional. I just thought Prisma Oma was funny here because it already has a lot of electricity procs. I mean, like hundreds of electric procs. So why don't we just make that even more? Because the Tau status. Very straightforward build. Also, just like the Grimoire, we're just maximizing our electricity everywhere. I have a Riven, which is crit chance electric. You don't need this. Replace it with the 60/60 electric mod if you want, and then like slap on, I don't know, something else if you need more crit. You can always replace quickening if you don't need the attack speed. Melee influence, of course, it's electricity. Discipline's Merit, Sovereign Outcast. For our focus school, we have Matarai, but that's just because I like to play Void Cascade. Other than that, you can run anything you want. It doesn't really matter. If you like to main your melee the most, then Naramon's probably gonna be better. Our companion, I'm not running Nautilus Prime. Whoa, that's crazy. We're using Skriddles, aka the Hound. And this is a very straightforward Hound build. We just kind of want to spread statuses all over the place. Very snazzy. The main thing that makes it work here, let's go back, is Manifold Bond. We gotta have Manifold Bond, and then we just want as many statuses as we can get on our melee, especially viral, because that's where our viral application will come from. And all these statuses will be basically doubled because we have the Tau status on the enemy. So lots and lots of status effects. Let's try to, okay, I don't have any guys summoned. Good. There's our little doggo dude. He's gonna mess these guys up a little bit, but it's fine. And then we slap down these suckers. We do that. So where is, here we go. And we strip their armor. And it should mostly kill them without me having to do anything. Yeah, they're starting to die. We don't even have our strength built up all the way. Obviously, this isn't like insane damage, but this is all passive and it's all benefiting your teammates at the same time. And you can obviously shoot your weapons because we're not attacking right now. And attacking tends to, you know, do more damage for those that don't know how attacking works in video games. So I think this is a pretty funny build. And dude, I love Tyrant Capillar. I love this ability. It's awesome. So we're gonna bring this build into a mission so you can see it in action. Not that it matters much. I mean, I think Caliban's pretty straightforward. He's just kind of like visual effects all over the place, but why the hell not? So let's go into a mission. All right. If I could actually get energy and stop getting the freaking debuff for negative energy for every enemy around me every freaking time I get a Netracell, that would be awesome. I dare say it could even be poggers, as the kids would say. I hope I used that right. Now we just get all of the things going so that everything is snazzy. like so, and then we let the game play for us. Anyways, I'll be right back, guys. I'm gonna go get a sandwich. No, not really, but that would be really funny if I did. But I don't have the effort to leave my room. And look at that. Ooh, baby, I love the Grimoire. 1.9 million. That's a lot of damage. And we can build that up so easily. Look at this. What, like almost 4 abilities. Or almost 3 abilities was enough to build this up all the way. And we don't even need like secondary surge built up all the way. I mean, it's only a little bit of damage we're missing. So close enough that we're chilling in that department. My main issue with the Hound in this setup, and really the Hound in any setup, is that it tends to get downed a lot, and that's annoying, and I don't like that. Whereas like if I use a Sentinel, the Sentinel just follows me, and then I like, you know, kill a couple dudes with some like momentous bond stuff, and it comes right back up and it's right on me, instead of like it dying and I need it to like follow me and stuff, so that it actually is where I need it to be. Not to say that the Hound is bad. The Hound is still amazing, an amazing companion. It's just it isn't quite as consistent in builds as a Sentinel would be. Did you see that 400,000 damage number? Am I schizophrenic, or did I see that too? Did you see that too? That was a big damage number. Oh my god, that is insane. Are those critical hits? We're getting critical hit. 390k. What in the ever-living hell? That is beautiful. All we gotta do is exist and stuff gets slapped. I'm not really making use of my weapons that I brought here for the more status procs, but that's because it's kind of hard to do that when everything just dies from our like companions and stuff as is. But I'm sure you can still get a general idea of the purpose of this build and what we want it to do, which is it's doing it quite well, actually, a little bit too well, to be perfectly honest. Sibris being funny with its explosions, as always. We do like explosions in this game. I mean, that's like the main thing people use. If it has an explosion, people are like, ooh, use that, which is understandable. I mean, who doesn't enjoy explosions? I'm just rambling at this point, though. I'm not really sure what to talk about at this section with the gameplay. I just know that y'all voted that you didn't want to deal with loud music when I show the gameplay, so instead you get to deal with me yapping while you see the gameplay. Isn't that fun? And worst case scenario, you can always just mute my yappage while you watch me murder stuff randomly, because that is an option. I'm still... I don't know what to think about Caliban after the changes. I like him. He's still mostly the same frame he was. Like, his general play style and theme, they haven't changed. And a lot of the cool stuff about his abilities are still there. And he's definitely better, easier, more consistent to play than he used to be. But I also kind of feel like he lost that little bit of specialness to him, right? Like, everyone said he was the worst frame in the game, but I firmly believe he was still a very, very solid frame. Like A rank. I know that's like most people would strongly disagree with that, but I think pre-buff Caliban was a good Warframe, or at least in what you do. Not good in the way of he was clunky, that was an issue, but I think as far as what he brought to the table, he was a good Warframe. And using him and using builds that were very effective on him like that when nobody liked him was pretty cool, right? You know, when you're the guy that's using the thing nobody else likes instead of just being a bandwagoner that spams Saren every 9 seconds, it's enjoyable, right? Like, you feel like you're a little more special than the other people. I know that's kind of like dumb in the grand scheme of things, but I still feel like that's there, right? That was a thing. And that's just not the case anymore, because now Caliban's I don't know like the statistics. I don't know the percentages on how many people play Caliban now, but I do know I see Calibans fairly often now, and it's always just a Nourish Caliban, right? Like, I just see Nourish Caliban with Tord running around, and it's like, that's That's a little sad, because that's not really what Caliban used to be. I used to see a Caliban and then think, damn, this guy is cultured as fuck. Now I see a Caliban and I think, Nourish again? It's just a little bit sad. So that's not to say you can't have fun playing Caliban. I still enjoy playing Caliban. He's awesome. He's an awesome Warframe. I love him. And the changes were nice to get to him. They were very good changes. It's just a tad bit unfortunate, the current circumstances in how people play him, or like how he's viewed. I don't know. Bit of a rant, but I just thought I'd get that out there. Hopefully they don't have this, the same doesn't happen to like all the Warframes that I feel like are underrated that I like to play just for that purpose. But we'll have to wait and see, because there are going to be other Warframes they end up reworking. I don't know what they are. I mean, I don't freaking work at DE, but I know they're definitely going to rework some other Warframes in the future, because there are quite a few that could use it. I just hope that none of them lose their core identity. We have finished the Netracell, so enough with the yappage yap, and I'm just gonna cut back to us in the Orbiter. After all of that crazy showcase yappage big woe kind of stuff, hopefully you got an idea for what Caliban's like after his rework, and maybe you know if you want to build him now. I don't think he's given out for free anymore, but he was given out at the time of the update with his rework, right? Kome's update. So for some people, a lot of people, you got a free Caliban. If you didn't, well, honestly, sucks to suck. That's a skill issue, but you'll have to farm him, I guess. I'm not really sure what else to do with him. I kind of want to, I don't know, I thought about doing like a max investment quotation marks build, but I don't really think there's much to do with him. He's just kind of there, right? Like, you can make use of pretty much any weapons on him. You don't really need something specific. And the reason I do videos like that is I want to do like the kind of build where you really can make use of everything, but I just don't feel like that's not necessarily not doable, but more like not necessary, really. I mean, I guess realistically it's not necessary with almost any frame, but like way less necessary than it would be with other frames, to the point of not being worth the effort. That's gonna do it for the video though. If you liked the video, then leave a like and subscribe. Adios.